Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about Jason Butler, Bernard O'Shea, and Jennifer Zamparelli's sitcom Bridget Eamon. This is an Irish show from 2016. It starts, and then it runs for 4 seasons. Interestingly enough, despite being quite a contemporary sitcom, it utilizes a lot of the same kinds of central tropes as older sitcoms going back to, say, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s especially. Things like basically a toxic married relationship, right? So O'Shea plays Eamon and Zamparelli plays Bridget. They are a married Irish couple in the 1980s in somewhere in the Irish Midlands, in a very small town. And as the episode about the divorce referendum points out, they absolutely should not be together. They are terrible for each other. And this is actually an interesting thing about the show, because over the course of the series, it changes. So in the initial season, especially, it's the beginning portion, seasons 1 and 2, even into season 3, but in season 3, it really starts changing. Bridget is consistently, so she's peppy, right? She tends to be very excited and upbeat and positive about things and very energetic about stuff. She also does seem to have some degree of genuine affection for Eamon, right? She's always trying to, or I say always, she's frequently trying to get him to have sex with her. She's frequently trying to do stuff with him. She's trying to get him involved in activities and whatever it is. Whereas Eamon, played by O'Shea, he consistently is misanthropic, lazy, uninterested in engaging with Bridget in any way. He constantly insults her, belittles her. He's the sort of, what's the character's name? I can't think of the male lead character's name from Married with Children, right? But there is this sort of Married with Children vibe of he just wants to sit on, in this case, his armchair and just watch television. That's all Eamon really ever wants to do. Whereas Bridget wants to be active in the community. She wants to do zany things like start a radio show or start an illegal sort of radio broadcast. She wants to be active in the church. She wants to do all this stuff. And Eamon just doesn't want to. And a lot of the conflict and the comedy of the first couple of seasons especially revolves around their sort of differing ideas of what their marriage should be and what the nature of their relationship should be. As we go into the third season, and especially into the 4th season, Bridget's character shifts. She goes from being, she remains generally quite peppy and energetic, but she goes from very much being like, Eamon, come do this thing with me. Eamon, come on, talk to me, acknowledge me, come on. Don't tell me you love me. Come on, Eamon. She goes from that sort of energy to almost matching his distaste for their marriage, right? So there's an episode in which they have they are held hostage by Jimmy and Martin, these 2 guys who are, they're in the IRA, realistically. They're in the IRA, that's what we are meant to take from it, but they never actually acknowledge that. Eamon and several of the other characters are like, yeah, you guys are in the IRA. And Jimmy, who's modeled on Jerry Adams, and Martin are like, whoa, in the IRA. I mean, what does that even mean to be in the IRA? I mean, so there's that whole, like, plausible deniability vibe. Anyway, and they show up, they're recurring characters. Anyway, in one episode, I think it's in season 3, if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy and Martin escape from custody. They take refuge in Bridget and Eamon's house and essentially hold them and most of the neighbors hostage. So there's Noreen, who's the sort of annoying, very judgy friend of Bridget. There's Concepta, who's really sort of fascinating, strange character in her own right, because she does seem to be highly educated and yet incredibly stupid at the same time. And she periodically sort of says these things that are very much demonstrating expertise in particular subjects, and yet no one ever listens to her. No one really pays attention to her until, I think it's in season 2. They think they've won a lot of money on the lottery, and so they go and spend a whole bunch of money that they don't actually have. And one of the things that Concepta gets is breast implants. And suddenly Eamon starts paying a lot of attention to her, but still not hearing anything she says. There's Father Gabriel, who is the very flamboyant priest of the parish. There's Frank, Fierce Handy Frank, who seems to be sort of a not very useful handyman, whose main thing seems to be sleeping with older women, like 60s, 70s, 80s. And those are really sort of the core characters. There's some other people that come and go that we have sort of recurring characters, but those are the main ones. Anyway, so those are the people who are there. There's a long way around to get to the thing that I was going to tell you. Those are the people who are there when Martin and Jimmy take them hostage, and they have to recreate television shows because Martin shoots the telly with his shotgun, and then Jimmy's like, you know what? I'd really like to watch some telly. And Bridget's like, and Eamon is like, well, you can't because Martin just shot it. And Jimmy's like, I'm sorry. I thought I said I wanted to watch some telly. So they have to recreate these television shows like the Golden Girls and Knight Rider, etc., etc. So, but the ultimate point that I'm getting to, and I'm taking a very, very long time detouring into this one episode to talk about this, is that at the end of that episode, they have to do a recreation of the iconic dance number from the end of Dirty Dancing. And rather than I've Had the Time of My Life, which is the song from the original film, Bridget and Eamon dance to a song that they have sung called You've Ruined My Life. And this really kind of, I think, marks the shift for Bridget's character from I love my husband, but he does not really engage with me. He is not sort of active in our marriage, whatever it is, to you have made my life so much worse. I wish that I were not married to you. I wish that I had never met you, etc., etc. So there is this stark shift, right, in Bridget's character. The way that she acts, the way that she relates to her husband in season 1 is incredibly different from the way she does in season 4. So that's a striking thing. And I actually think on some level it's an interesting shift. If we think about this sitcom as a sort of commentary on these older 80s, 90s type sitcoms that are premised on, oh, this is a this is a husband who just doesn't want to be married to his wife, and this is a wife who henpecks her husband to be a better husband and basically a functional human being, etc., right? So that sort of very sexist, problematic premise for sitcoms was incredibly common. And again, I think Bridget and Eamon picks up on this basic central narrative, but at a time when that is not going to fly, right? Because by 2016, the idea of like, oh, ha ha ha, she wants him to, be a decent human being on rare occasions, and he's just totally unwilling. That's a real knee slapper. No, people like that type of humor has largely dissipated, which is a good thing because it reinforces problematic stereotypes about men, women, and relationships. But I think there is an element of commentary here to that type of show. And as Bridget's character shifts and becomes less and less tolerant of Eamon's misanthropy, really, his basic sort of desire not to be around anyone or do anything or engage with other human beings, I think there is a sort of implied criticism of that. One of the other things I love about Bridget and Eamon is that they are continually referring back to other media. So it is a very meta-televisional, meta-cinematic show, which I think is delightfully funny because it often puts a comic twist on the particular things that are being parodied, right? So one of my absolute favorites is the iconic bunker scene from the movie Downfall, where Hitler is sort of sitting in front of a map with all his generals and staff and whoever it is around him at the end of his regime, and he's trying desperately to come up with ways that he can hold on to power and win the war. There's an episode in which Bridget and Eamon get an illegal satellite dish so that they can watch TV illegally. They don't have a television license, and so they're not legally allowed to do it. And as soon as the illegal satellite dish is put in, a television license inspector shows up. And basically they are besieged in their house with a bunch of their friends. Again, people like Frank, Concepta, Noreen, Father Gabriel, etc., etc. And one of the things about Bridget is that she continually smokes. In virtually every scene where Zamparelli is on camera, she has a cigarette in her hand, including the scenes where she and Eamon are in bed together. Bridget continually smokes. It is one of her trademarks. And during this siege by the television license inspector, she runs out of cigarettes. And they parody that Downfall scene of Bridget as Hitler, basically saying, "It's okay, Eamon, you can find me cigarettes in this house. There are some around. You just have to find them." And Eamon being like, "No, we've looked everywhere. There aren't any." And it's such a great parody of that scene. It's really, really, really funny. And again, it's one of those things that, like, this is a very smart show, I think. It is a show that utilizes that humor and utilizes those tropes or images or references that people will get as a way of sort of commenting on the nature of this central pairings relationship.